In this series, you will learn how to model a realistic 3D human skull like this one without sculpting and by only using two reference images for creating a super detailed texture. You can even download these very reference images for free by going to blenderfrenzy.com and signing up for a freebies membership, which is useful if you want to follow along with the videos exactly. And if you want access to even more members only stuff like extra videos and the completed 3D Skull model for download, check out the Plus and Pro memberships. But this course is free and beginner friendly and goes at a pace that is fairly easy to follow along. However, I do assume you are already somewhat familiar with Blender or at least how to navigate in a 3D program. So maybe not necessarily for the ultra beginner. In this video, we will model out the shape of the main skull, so let's get started. Justin at Blender Frenzy back here with you again. We are going to continue work on our skull, and the next stop is our teeth. So this is what we have so far, which is a pretty good start. And in order to build this, we went over a whole bunch of different modeling techniques, kind of your basic modeling workflow, and we're going to continue that here. So a lot of people will make teeth for their character separately and then kind of just pop them into the geometry, kind of overlap the geometry. I actually want to try to avoid that. I want to try to make this as efficient as possible. So if you're making something for like a game engine, you don't want to have a whole lot of overlapping geometry. You kind of want everything to be one solid piece. So that's what we're going to do with the teeth here. We're going to try at least, and we're going to try to use the existing geometry to do that. We're going to have to add some other loop cuts here, but I don't want to add too many because I don't want to add too much geometry. Again, trying to keep it as efficient as possible so you can use it for like a game engine or something. But this is what we have here. And the first thing I'm going to do is turn off the mirror modifier. And then we've been using X-ray mode so far. But if we go into front view with X-ray mode, you can see the points and edges and stuff behind it. And to avoid that, we can either do just regular wireframe, which will do that. Wireframe automatically turns on X-ray mode, so we just have to check off X-ray mode. And then there we can see just the front of it. So that's what we see here, like this. Now there's another thing that you could do in solid mode, and that is the hidden wire. And basically it acts the same way, except for now you can see through into the 3D preview, into the 3D world, and it still has the same effect where it hides the actual wireframe behind it. So either or, if you use hidden wire, I recommend putting this into your quick favorites by right clicking on it and then adding to quick favorites, and then you can press Q and then access it from here, toggle that back and forth. Otherwise you can just press Z and then go into wireframe or solid shaded mode, back and forth like that. Solid shaded has hidden wire on it. There we go. Okay, so back and forth like that. And I haven't really used the Z a lot, but maybe I'll try to get used to that. And the reason I'm doing this is so that we don't have to hide a whole bunch of geometry. So we have our head back polygons here we can select and hide, but then I'd have to keep hiding and unhiding stuff, and I don't like that because we're gonna have to make a couple loop cuts on the side. So instead, Alt H, just use the hidden wire or the wireframe. Okay, so let's use the existing geometry. We have 8 teeth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so I want to kind of line up these faces here to use the faces as teeth that will extrude from these faces. So how many do we have here? So this is going to be in between. Oh, let's actually turn off the subdivision surface as well. So these two here are going to be in between teeth because they're not large enough to kind of stretch over for either of the teeth, and they're not in the right positions. So we have 1, 2, 3 for those, and then in side mode we have 4, 5. So we need to make a couple loop cuts here. Let's go into the front mode, make a loop cut right here, and then we have our front 2 teeth, so 1, 2, and then this will be 3 here. And if I go into side mode, you can see in side mode, this actually lines up with this third tooth pretty nicely. Sometimes going back and forth between front and side mode, it's a little deceiving how the geometry actually rounds around corners and stuff. So it's lining up here, but if we go into front view, then you can see it's way out here. So we're actually going to need to bring these back. So I'll go into edge, select, and just select these edges. And if I just slide them along the geometry, like this, then that's going to change it in our side view because we're sliding it along the geometry. But if I instead undo that and just grab and move them, then they're not sliding at all front to back. So that means in the side mode, they're gonna stay the same here. And that's a little bit confusing, a little bit deceiving when you see it, but basically it's the difference between doing this, sliding, and then just grabbing and moving it in. So let's do that again, grabbing it, and we're just grabbing it and moving that in to make this face line up with this tooth here in both the front and the side. And you can see these are kind of lined up. This could be lined up actually a little bit better. These two basically are on the same exact plane. So I'm going to scale those. Let's get out of proportional editing mode. I'm going to scale those on the Y0 so that both of these are like directly facing in front like that. And then we'll just take these points here and move that up. And that's right in between these teeth here. Move that. Actually, these are pretty good. And move those back a little bit here. Yeah. Okay. So let's keep going here. So this face looks like it's going to take care of both of these teeth right here. So I'm going to do another loop cut here, slide that right there. And then I'm going to take these three and just slide these back as well, like that. We can take these three here, also slide them back. Let's actually see what these look like in front mode. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, okay. So this actually needs to be, what's this one? That's 1, 2, 3 from the back. So 1, 2, 3. So that needs to be way over here. So you can see that initially when we had set our curvature of our mouth, it doesn't actually line up. And the teeth are a very good way to correct that so we can line it up more accurately. So 1, 2, 3, this actually, I'm going to do proportional editing again, and we're going to move this back here. That needs to be like that. And then I think this one is on the fourth one. So we'll grab it and we'll move that one. Or maybe we can slide it. Let's take the edge, slide that, slide that. And then I'm not going to slide them, I'm going to just bring them back, just regular G to grab those and bring those back, because that, if you slide it in one, you want to grab it in the other if you don't want it to move positions from the other one. So here it's still the same. We'll also slide that, maybe rotate that a little bit as well. And let's come in here, do the same thing. I'll slide these, but then I will make sure that I grab and move these back. Same thing, slide here. And grab and move this back. Oh, that's too far. Awesome. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do, okay, 4, 5. Yep. 6. Yeah. I'll just grab and move this out a little bit. Okay. And then we've got 7 and 8. So we need 2 more teeth, which means we need 3 more loop cuts here. And that's going up the side here. So let's do that. Control R, and then actually we only need 2 loop cuts. So click and place them right here. And I think that is good for the side view. We do probably need to so we can't see them here because they're way wrapped around to the back. So grab those and, oh, I don't want to pull that one out. This one will be here, and I think this is, so that should be second from the back. Yep, and then this one will be the last one. But I'm going to actually take just this very last edge here, and we'll pull that back, and we'll increase. Yeah, because this one here is going to be our last tooth. So just doing the proportional editing with that. Maybe taking these two edges and then just taking those in a little bit. And maybe that last edge can go back in just a tad. We can also bring these up a little bit. Great, so this is one from the back, right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what is that down here? Let's look at it in 3D. I always want to check in 3D mode as well. Let's see, can we do it? Yay, okay, I'm getting used to this solid versus wireframe. Oh, that's really easy. I like that. Yeah, no, that actually doesn't look too bad. Maybe I will bring this out on the X just a little bit, because I think that was too far in anyway. Let's take this here as well on the X and pull that. Oh, that's too far. Yeah, good enough. And it's good to take your time with this at this point, because when you start extruding the teeth, if things aren't lined up properly, then they can get really hairy, and nobody likes hairy teeth. So next step is to go to the bottom here. Let's do, if you do 7, you go to the top, and if you do Control 7, you can go and look at the bottom. We want to grab some edges here. So select any of these. Let's Alt select one of these edges and extrude them. E to extrude, right click to cancel that. And then we want to scale them in. So if we S to scale, oh, and then this is not how we want that to scale, actually. And the reason this is happening is because we still are in proportional editing. So I'm going to undo that, uncheck proportional editing, and then press scale. And now this is a better way to scale in. It's not protruding downwards, but it's still not scaling quite like we want. We're going to have some wonky looking teeth here, although we will have wonky looking teeth anyway. But this is too wonky for our purposes today. Undo that again, go into bottom mode, and then Shift S, choose cursor to selected. This puts it right in the middle of whatever we have selected, but we don't want it right in the middle. We want it in the middle and right down the middle of our skull. So in, go to view, and then down on 3D cursor, change X to 0. So it just moves it along the X to the 0 mark. And now if we S to scale, that doesn't do anything yet. Right click to cancel. We need to change our pivot point to 3D cursor. Now S to scale, there we go. And we're going to scale it out just however, a little bit bigger than you'd like the teeth to come out and protrude from there. So that looks good like that. But you can see now these lines look a lot better here. And maybe we can adjust some of these here. Yeah, so I'll take this edge, just grab that, straighten that one out a little bit, and then we'll grab this point here and straighten that out. And we can kind of straighten some of these other ones out here, just that they're kind of protruding back and that they're more or less square rectangle shape. This is the last one here, so we don't need to worry about that. But this one I'm going to straighten out also. Okay, that looks pretty good there. I'm going to save it. And before we start extruding the teeth, I haven't done this for a while actually, so I'm just going to go into object mode, Shift D to duplicate that. And I'm going to enable all of these here for the visibility and the selection. Select the 001 for the skull, and then Shift select 004 to select the range. Hover over here, M, and then I'm going to click New Collection, type in Backups, and we're going to put all of those in a collection called backups, and then disable that so that each iteration of the skull we have a backup that we can fall back on if we really royally screw things up. Okay, save it again, and now we're ready. So let's go to the bottom here. Let's extrude some geometry. So let's select our teeth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I to inset those in, and if it's insetting like this all together, just type I again, and then that toggles back and forth between individual inset mode. About right here, that looks good enough to me. Right after you do this operation, you can come down here to inset faces and open that up. If you don't see this, come up to view and then click adjust last operation. And then you get more options here. So we can do offset relative, we can do edge rail. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but we can do thickness. That just changes, but we set that already. The depth, I am going to pull this out. You can also go negative, so we can go in or out. We're going to go out just a little bit here. Let's see. Yeah, maybe we'll do 0.115. Outset, I don't know what that is, but select outer instead of the bottom faces. You can switch that selection if you need to. And this is the individual inset mode, which we want. And then interpolate, I'm not entirely sure what that means. But once you click away on something else, then the operation goes away and it's gone forever. So you want to make sure you change those before you click away onto something else. But this is good, I think, for now. So let's come down here again, undo to get that selection back, and then E to extrude downwards. And I'm not going to extrude all that far. Let's go into front view and let's see, let's grab these. And you can see like our last tooth over here isn't really lining up. And if we pull it out this way like that, then it's gonna like protrude the tooth out. And we don't want that. We want the teeth coming pretty much straight down. So I'm gonna undo that. It's lining up pretty nicely here. Well, at least the back teeth are. So let's just move these out a little bit. Let's go into proportional editing, grab that. Oh, and we still have the pivot point as 3D cursor. So let's change that to median point and just pull that out to line that up a little bit better. Do this one as well. Pull that out. I think I'm going to undo that. I don't want to pull it like that. We're going to do another method. First, let's do it in this mode. We're going to pull the front out to the front. But I'm going to take these two from the bottom, press Control plus plus, and then move them like this, because I don't want them to be skewed, because again the teeth can get a little wonky, and I want to try to keep them as cubed as possible for our edge flow, and again so that we don't get a whole bunch of messy hairy stuff going on. So I'm going to pull this out and let's see, something up like that, and then rotate that, I think, out like that. Okay, so that's good for the first two. We're going to do the same thing with this one. And yes, this might be a little tedious right now. And maybe I'll do outside of proportional editing here. Rotate that. This one is out a little too far here. Let's, instead of doing that, we're going to do Control minus, and we're going to just move this one out. Yeah. Try to line that up as carefully as possible. Select that one. This time I actually do want to be in X-ray mode. That one looks pretty good. There. Okay, now let's do it from the front. Does that look okay? Yeah, it's not looking too bad. Oh, these are kind of wonky. Okay, let's save it. I am, again, going to be paranoid. Object mode, Shift D to duplicate that, M to choose backups, and we're good to go there. Go back in here. And now let's extrude all of these out again. I think we can do them all. See, this one already looks a little skewed here. I'm going to try to adjust this a little bit. And then Control plus, and then rotate those. Let's do individual origins here. Rotate on the Z. So something like that. And then let's just see. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, so let's take the bottom of these here, and then we'll extend those out down here. And then I think we can deselect with, I'm going to use C to circle select, and you can scroll on this and then middle click to deselect these faces here. And then keep going, grab, I'm just grabbing and moving them down, deselect, grab, move that down, deselect, grab, move that down. Okay, and then S to scale on the individual origins there. That one looks all right. Just this one here. And then in side mode, let's see. That looks all right. More. It's not going to be perfectly lined up because in side mode and front mode, it's not entirely perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And okay, so we have a good start here. Again, object mode, Shift D, duplicate, right click, M, backups. Pretty easy to make a backup. Also, let's save it. Super paranoid because when you do a whole bunch of work, you don't want to lose it, and that's why I save probably more often than anybody ever. Okay, so let's add some detail and adding in some subdivisions without messing up the rest of our skull. So we don't want to come in and do loop cuts through these, although we could, but you see that would, if I back up here, that would go all the way around our skull, or it would do all these crazy loops and stuff, and it would add unnecessary edges and polygons. So what we're going to do instead is come into down here, select the bottoms again here, and Control plus up until these. And I'm going to right click and click Subdivide. Perfect. But I'm adding geometry slowly, incrementally, and then we're going to shape it, add a little bit more, shape it, because again, it's so difficult to try to change a whole bunch of geometry at once, especially when working with teeth. If we click our subdivision surface, we see what we have here, and this just looks like a cow's udder. So it's not the look we're going for, obviously. So let's start defining it. Going back here, we're going to start back here with the back of the teeth. So let's select these edges here. For all of the non-molar teeth. So these three back here, these are the molars. We're going to do something different with those. But for these, we'll slide these up like this. Let's also take the ones on the side. Let's go into X-ray mode here. And then slide these up like that. Oh, you know what? I'm going to undo that. I think they only work like I'm wanting it to on the same plane. So let's just select them one at a time. So slide that up. Okay. Yeah, something like that. And now I think what we can do is take these faces, and I think if I Alt S and go down, oops, forgot that one. Alt S, go down, and then that pushes them inwards towards, yeah. But let's come back here. Some of them are a bit skewed, so let's just come back and adjust these. And you can see why we're doing this slowly, because I can't say it enough, just it can get pretty messy. And we want clean teeth. Clean teeth are happy teeth, as the saying goes. That's my motto, or could be my motto if I start having a motto. Oh, we forgot these two. I gotta take these down. Okay, okay. So let's see what that is starting to look like. Yeah, that's a little better. Now they're flatter udders. This one is not flat enough. We're going to save the molars for a little bit later. But for now, let's get these kind of gum lines. The skull actually looks like you know, gums kind of look, except for obviously it's bone, but that's where the tooth, the root of the tooth goes up into. So let's create that here. Let's go back out of subdivision. And for this, I'm going to use the subdivided edge loop here and scale that in like this and move it up like that. So then we'll take this edge and grab that and move that up like that. Maybe pull it out to just a tiny bit like that. Then we're going to grab this edge loop and slide it up to about here, scale it in a little bit, and then just grab it and move it up. So just G once and move it up inwards like that. And then one more thing, Control R to loop cut and pull that up to define that a little bit better. And this is now what we have. So that's starting to look a lot better and a lot less udder-like. So I'll show you again on this tooth here. So select the edge loop there, S to scale that in, G to grab that up a little bit. Take this one, G to grab that up, and then maybe out a little bit. And let's see, also I'm gonna rotate that too, just so to straighten that out a little bit. Select this edge loop, slide it up with double G, scale it in, and then just one G to move it up. Control R to add in a loop cut to define it. And this is what we have. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that with the rest of these. Actually, let's see if I can do bulk. So make sure we are in individual origins for our pivot, and then Alt select these edge loops, and then Shift select these ones. We'll just do these here. S to scale in. I'm also going to rotate on the Z a little bit here, just to straighten this one out. Okay, and then grab and move those up a little bit, and then we'll take these, grab them, move them up, grab these. All right, we're getting there. Now these three, okay, so this is now what we have, which is nice. Let's turn off the overlays. Okay, yep. And you can start to see also some of the natural curvature that you get around the tooth in the main skull, so that's pretty cool. Okay, so guess what we're going to do? Object mode, Shift D, M, backups. Okay, and save it. Okay, so let's see if we can start shaping these a little bit better to the teeth that we have. Just selecting them, loop selecting, box selecting, all that good stuff. Scaling. And don't worry, it's still looking a little bit like little dangling udders or something. But we're going to change that. So right now, again, save a backup. You know what I forgot to do is I forgot to deselect these when I did the subdivision. So I'm going to select these edge loops here and just X, dissolve edges. Same thing for this one here. Dissolve edges. And these are sort of overlapping here. Let's see what we can do about that. Okay, that's better. All right, I noticed over here, these are up a little bit too high. Let's go into X-ray mode. Let's take some of these edge loops here. And then in proportional editing, let's just grab and move those down, kind of matching the quote-unquote gum line, whatever you call that. Okay, and I wanted to do that before we do this next step, which is going to be adding one more loop cut on each of the teeth to make it more defining, but then eliminating some geometry up here and making it merge nicely into our skull only using quads. So up until now, we've only used quads. I don't think I have any triangles, and if there are, they're accidental, but trying to use all quads. And that, from what I've heard, is the best practice, so we're trying to stick to that. So go into edge mode, and first we're going to select this edge loop, Alt select that, GG to grab that and move that over here, just off to the side a little bit, and then Control R to make a loop cut here, like that. And we can come in and clean up some of this here. Oops, out of proportional. And then if I'm not sure how something's gonna look on all of them, I'll do it on one and then just see if that looks all right. And that does, that looks just fine. And I'll go ahead and do that for the rest of them. Slide over, loop cut. And then I'll go ahead and check those, see if those are all right. Yep. And we'll be shaping the teeth a little bit more here after we're done with this. And again, don't worry about what we're going to do up here because it's going to be nice and easy and smooth right into our original geometry. Okay. That's good. And so let's shape the teeth a little bit better now to the reference image. And if we look in subdivision mode here, you can start to see we can define this a little bit more to make this even more flat, which we need it to. So the sides don't look too bad, although we could take these two and these and just slide those up to define that side more like that. And then what we can do is do a Control R edge loop here and pull that down. And now you see what's happening. This looks like a tooth. This looks like our front tooth. If we go in front mode to our wireframe, this matches pretty well with our tooth. Now we can probably pull that these down here. These down here, we can pull that up probably here because we've added several loop cuts really close together that defines those edges in subdivision surface mode a little bit better, and there we go. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to add in loop cuts right here, pull that down a little bit, and then adjust to the image. And normally, again, I don't like working in subdivision surface mode, so I'm going to do everything as much as I can without the subdivision, and then the very last like tiny tweaks I'll do within subdivision. I know I'm noticing too here that these edges aren't high enough here. I think we can just select those and pull and slide those up. And actually, I don't think it really matters all that much, but just slide these up here as well. Let's see what those non-molar teeth look like now. Okay, so they're looking a little bit more like teeth. Let's, they're a little bit flat on the front, but that is okay because we can change that here. Just pull those out and then take the bottom ones and pull that in. Let's make sure that looks okay. It's a little bit skewed here, so I'm just going to pull that over this way. Let's take all of them down here. Fatten that up a little bit also. This one doesn't look too bad here. I'm going to take the bottom ones though and just scale them in like that. Maybe take these two and just pull those down. Yeah. We'll go ahead and fatten this one up too here. And then in front also. And yeah, I'm doing probably a little too much in, yeah, see, you can see that it's way too much in subdivision surface mode. You can start to see that how this is getting a little bit wonky back here. And this again is why the more geometry you have, as I keep saying, the harder it is to mess with all of these and keep them all clean. And it doesn't have to be perfect, especially in this instance. You don't have to perfectly line it up with the reference image exactly. The reference image is that just for reference. I forget that often because I'm like, no, I want a one-to-one match, 100%. And that is just my perfectionism coming through. So you probably struggle with that too if you are an artist, because a lot of artists are perfectionistic about their work. So I get it. I understand if that is you. Okay, so this is what we have for the front teeth, and look at that, that's actually coming together pretty nicely. Two more things we're going to do. We're going to do the molars, and then we're going to do up here, and then we'll be done. So out of subdivision surface, what we're going to do with these is take the bottom faces, I to inset, but we don't want to inset individually, so I again just toggles that. Take this edge here, proportional editing mode, and let's go into X-ray so we can see what's happening. And then I'm going to just grab that and move that up and kind of scale as I do that. And if we go here, you can see what's happening. I'll go ahead and scale that into a little bit here, rotating it, shaping it to where it starts to look like a molar. I can also do this for my cage so I can select stuff easier. That's maybe too high there. Select these and move those up also. Just like that. If I select one, and then I can click Control plus a little bit so we can select all of the bottom again. Go here and we're going to pull this down and rotate it just a little. All right, so I'm going to do that same thing for these two. All right, look at that. We've got teeth. That's awesome. So those teeth are looking pretty good, and you can shape them again however you like. But that is how I go about doing these types of things. I mean, definitely good enough for now. So let's clean up our geometry here. And you can already see we've got some natural like bumps, but we want to make it to go over the teeth. We want to be more deliberate about it. Okay, so we have 3 edges here, and then we have 1 edge. So we need to make 3 go into 1. And to do that with our current setup, it's actually very easy. All we have to do is go into vertex select, And then on this side, we want to select this one, then shift select this one, and then shift select this one at last, M, and then say merge at last, boom. And that is just one edge here. And we can actually take this point and grab and then snap it there. And then with our auto merge on, it will merge those together automatically. And now we have just completely eliminated some geometry here. We can also do it on this side, but we can actually do all of these at once. So I'm going to select this one, this one, this one, and then this one last, M to merge at last. Okay, so now you see we have 3 edges, 1, 2, 3, going into one edge, which goes in, fits the rest of the geometry without creating a whole bunch of unnecessary loop cuts, which is perfect. I'm going to take this, rotate that here a little bit, slide that up and scale that in. And this, if we take this face and protrude it out a little bit, let's do Alt S, protrude it out. If we come in here, now you can start to see these natural bumps over the teeth like you would see in a real skull. And so I'm just going to do that for the rest of them, and that's pretty easy. Vertex select, I'm just going to take these on this side. Oh, okay, so then we have one. These are all one. This is how we want it. So we just want to do this merge at last. And now since that was the last operator, then I can just click Shift R to repeat the last one, and that makes it even faster. So we're going to take these. This is the last one. Shift R. It'll automatically merge at last. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Shift R. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shift R. Oh, for some reason that didn't work. Shift R. Okay, merge at last. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shift R. Okay, and then back here, looks like we need to maybe do another loop cut here, and then one down here, and then take these faces, delete them, and then take these edges and F to fill those. Okay. There we go. And then we can take these edges let's see if we can slide those. Yeah, so slide them up like that. Let's scale them on individual origins. Yeah, something like that. Oh, you know, we don't need, I'm going to undo that. We don't need this one to slide. Okay, and then now we can just take these faces and then Alt S to protrude those out. That may be a little too far, but we can see what this looks like here. Oh yeah, look at that. Actually, we can pull those up too. Usually they go up higher. So let's pull all of that up. So I'm going to select and then Control click along the way to select these edges here, because it won't calculate the loop cut because of the way we have our geometry, but that's okay. So then I'll just slide this up along that and then see what we have. So yeah, that's a little bit more realistic there. Although we have this kind of defining line here we might not want because it's close to this piece of geometry, which we can probably just slide this all the way up to there. And with our auto merge, it's going to auto merge that. And then let's see what we have. Oh yeah, that's much better. I like that. And then that eliminates some more geometry. And we still have all quads, which is good. But let's Yeah, let's go ahead and pull. Actually, these ones need to be pulled out like this. Actually, it looks like all of them do. Much better. Awesome. Okay, so there you go. That is your skull teeth that are protruding out of the skull without adding unnecessary geometry and without being separate objects that are just plugged in overlapping geometry. It's all protruding out of the same place, all connected in one mesh. And we can see with what that is with our mirror modifier. Now our teeth here are going to clip together. We'll deal with that later, but this is what it's looking like now. And I think that is looking like one sexy skull. I don't know about you. Okay, so the next part is the jaw. So we're going to try to form the jaw and the teeth. Very similar way. So stay tuned and you'll see me in the next one. You can find this video and a whole lot more by going to my new website, blenderfrenzy.com, where you can access lots of free and members-only content, including extra tutorials, downloads, assets, blend files, Q&A live streams, and much more. Signing up helps support me, which in turn gives you more Blender content, so head on over to blenderfrenzy.com and become a member today.